So maybe we can go down the line again and offer words of wisdom for how organizations can get started.
Yeah, that's a great way of thinking. And Biljana mentioned it earlier. I think this is something we've also seen, that there's a lot of hype. Everybody is talking about ESG, and in this region in particular, since about COVID, I think. I've been here 6 years and I've seen it, but there's not a lot of substance. There's a substance gap. And it's fantastic that people want to do this and people are interested, but it's a journey, as you will all say. Actually, it's a journey, and we're all on this journey, and we need to recognize that and take it step by step. And get started. Also, as Alenka was saying, you know, the first place to start is where you start. You can't go from zero to hero and all of this. You know, you have to start slowly. So, on that point, one place I'm biased like Remon. I come in with an investor's eye, and I'm looking at companies to invest in them, right? What is the first thing I'm going to look at? I'm going to say, are you managing your E&S risks? Let alone reporting to me and doing all these beautiful reports for the EU or for anyone. I want to know actually have you got systems in place in your company, not just what you're telling me and if your annual report looks nice. So the systems, I think, is where you have to start. And as we heard from NLB's example, the performance standards, IFC comes in, EBRD comes in, we say we want to see that you have an environmental and social management system that helps you manage your E&S risks in your portfolio. We're talking about banks, FIs in your portfolio. So that's a good place to start, especially if you're looking at trying to get investment from the likes of any big international investor, including all equator principles. And the great thing, maybe I'll keep it short, but we have a lot of tools publicly available for you to use, for anyone to access, and for anyone to see that are globally adopted by all of us, right? I put all of us investors in the same bucket. Tools, materials, guidance. Another point on Remon was saying, we also, so that's bottom up, right? That's the bottom up approach, working with our clients, working with companies in markets, helping them with those first steps. But then we do also try and have the top down approach. And I want to flag a fantastic network that IFC has. And many of you would have heard my colleague talk about it this morning, but IFC is the secretariat for the Sustainable Finance and Banking Network, which also provides a whole suite of tools and guidance at the regulatory and association level, and sharing knowledge. This network now has been going for, oh my goodness, I'm going to get the year wrong, over 12 years. We have members from all across our markets where IFC operates, and we link in with kind of European networks and other North American networks, so that we can really share best practices with the central banks, with the associations. And at the same time, as I say, we work bottom up, as Remon put it, with our clients. But many of those tools are all publicly available. And so I do encourage you, and I can list out the websites that we have for you. But that's a great place to start. Start with your system, and then you can build on that all the additional KPIs, because if you don't have a system, how are you going to get that data to your management, to your supervisory board, let alone into the annual report and into all of your EU reporting if you're going there, right? So start with the system and start, most important. I'll leave it at that.
Yes, it's a great point to continue. Yes, I totally agree. There is a great tools and there is a lot of materials. And as I mentioned before, for me, I'm, for example, not from banking sector, and I have to learn a lot. And I found that there is a lot of maybe too many materials. Sometimes it's not easy to find the right one. And I suggest you maybe that is. Maybe not the best way, but it is a good way to start. Just choose some of frameworks. I don't know, maybe global reporting initiative or something like that. It's a free of charge. You can download all the packages and try to create report. I know it's easier for the larger system, and I know in Montenegro we've got only few companies which are under obligation to create reports. Even they're still not under obligation because we are out of European Union. But I try to promote and this concept because it is important. Start now. We've got only maybe few years, I hope so, few years to be part of European Union, and maybe it's easier for larger systems like NLB and that type of systems. It's easier for them. But I would like to promote for SMEs, for small, or even for NGOs, just download that package and try to check indicators, because that indicators are really, after that you will get final picture what really reporting is and what ESG is. Because it's not that green component. I'm from the green sector. It's my huge love and passion. But that pillars are equal, and it is important to understand that ESG is actually SDGs, and that is really important, and I try to promote that, and we will try from our perspective, from the top of the economy, not only financial sector of economy, to help our ecological state to really switch into the green transition. And finally, I think it is important not understand ESGs like, obligation. It's not obligation. It's really great opportunity. It's really, switch. It's really transition. It's not obligation. Now we have to create some report. Now central bank is create some guides or some rules. It's not idea. It's idea really switch your company, your society, and we all got some role in that place.
I'm just going to add before we get into Alenka's is that, something that you're alluding to is that once you get started, it becomes almost an addiction. And you want to learn and you want to do better each time. And the sad side of this, the downside, is that you're oftentimes alone in the organization. And so reaching out to peers or even competitors that you would normally feel would be competitors in the sustainability space, you are willing to work together. And I'm sure, Alenka, you've seen that whole trajectory, right? Going from being alone, doing this, into the point of partnering with others.
Sure, yeah. We were very much alone in 2020. Actually, NLB Group is the first bank in the region to join UNEP-FI, United Nations Environment Programme Finance Initiative. First, we joined PRBs, and then not PRIs, Nancy, just to correct you. And then we also joined the other initiative, which is even more ambitious, called NZBA, so Net Zero Banking Alliance. Basically, we committed that we will slowly decarbonize our operations and our portfolios. And here the fun began. Yeah, but what I would actually like to say here is that let's say this was the case of NLB, so I assume that every organization has its own story, but in our case is that only Slovenia, so only the mother bank, is really a member of the European Union, but still the whole regulatory framework is binding for all subsidiaries, although they are not part of EU. So this is a challenge for us, So basically, you are saying your subsidiary in Montenegro to play by the same rules as in Slovenia. whereas the regulatory framework is logically lagging behind, and customers are not used to this new kind of questions on GHG emissions and so on and so forth. And then, you know, you have a small centralized team that I'm heading from Ljubljana, and then I'm, you know, constantly bothering our team with questions if we have this and that data related to sustainability. And then we have another problem, which is also very interesting for this region. You know, you see from this problem, or from this experience, you see that actually we have a two-tier Europe, you know. We have this western and northern part of Europe super developed when it comes to sustainability, and then we have this central and eastern part, which is actually underdeveloped with regards to ESG factors integration and the reporting and everything. And then there is a clash of these two worlds, you know, to a certain extent. And basically in the case of NLB Group, and based on CSRD and ESRS, so these are acronyms for Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, which is now the most important regulation basis for sustainability reporting, together with ESRS, European Sustainability Standards. We are actually integrating all these standards in the whole group. We simply have to do it. Yes, and we have also a kind of a backlash from customers, not only companies, but also private individuals, SMEs, NGOs, suppliers, you know, who basically cannot answer these questions that we are asking them. And let's say the questionnaire for the ESMS system, Environmental and Social Management System, which is part of the risk stream, where we are managing ESG risks, we have a really big questionnaire there, you know, and we implemented it based on best practices from the Western banks, and it has like 300 questions. And when you start asking SME, you know, about 300 things related to sustainability, you know, it's not very fun thing to do for our, let's say, frontline workers and so on. You know, this is everything that, you know, it's very important that we don't see sustainability as some ideological thing, because it's really not. It's such a hard work. What I would like to say also, that yeah, step by step, you're basically introducing sustainability in your business framework. Customers get used to it. You have to build capabilities. You have to do as much as you can on raising awareness, and then the ball starts rolling. Yeah.
No, thank you so much. I think that also gets to then, of course, everything is flowing so nicely. And from your perspective, within the sustainable finance platform, where do you see some of the challenges between bridging data and then also providing the data that's needed for decision making at the EU level?
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that question. And maybe just to briefly introduce, so the EU Platform for Sustainable Finance is an official advisory body to the European Commission. It's made up of experts from all across industry, financial sector, but also academia. So very well represented, and we try to support the Commission in their sustainable finance journey, so to say. The current mandate of that platform is very much focused on usability, because many of you here, and you know, I'm from Northwestern Europe, so perhaps where things are maybe a little bit more developed, or there's a more long-standing experience with ESG, and still the usability issues are are significant, if not tremendous, also there. So, for instance, you mentioned the GAR, the green asset ratio for financial institutions, or the equivalents for other institutions, right? The investment ratio, the underwriting ratio, whatever they be. There's lots of usability issues. There's data issues. There's been a timing issue where financial institutions had to report and disclose on the ESG matters, on taxonomy, before actually corporates were, or at least in larger volumes. So I think, like I said, the platform's mandate this time around was very much focused on usability. The European Commission is very aware of the issues as well. So there's various work streams dedicated to understanding how can the GAR be made to actually work. Because what, of course, we all try to do is get to these metrics that help us really understand what are we achieving in terms of environmental and social sustainability. At the moment, I don't think we're there yet, even though these regulations were super ambitious and innovative. It's very early days. But I guess I would also just, echo what some of the other panelists here have said. Get started. There are now examples in the market. There is reported data, so you can look at what other companies are doing. There's even front runners, companies that front run CSRD. So in the next few weeks, we should see several companies coming out with their CSRD reports. I would say take a look. That's going to be very interesting how they approach it.
Thank you. Remon, what challenges are you seeing?
Enforcement of regulation. Because, look, ultimately, here we are in the Balkans. We are talking about small companies mostly, not listed. I agree with what Caroline says about how to structure it with a company, but then this maybe applies to large corporates rather than to those small micro companies that exist in the ecosystem in the Balkans. And large companies like banks, for example, they want to provide green financing, but then there is no pipeline. There is no way to measure it because, for example, you don't have energy performance certificates, although you have an energy efficiency law transports from the EU, but it has never been enforced. And even if it is enforced, how trustworthy is the certificate? I mean, I have experience even from an EU member state, which I will not mention which it is because I don't want to blame and shame anyone, but I went there, and back then I was in the energy efficiency team in the bank, and I was asking them what is the performance of the building, and they said B. I said, then it's great, but I said no, but tell us which certificate do you need? Do you need the D? Do you need E? I said no, I want the certificate of the actual building, and that's where I think enforcement is very important. There need to be accountability for these certificates, for this reporting. Otherwise, it will remain a report which will, let's say, sanify us. We will be all celebrating ESG, but in practice, we are not doing any good to the environment. Same when it comes to waste management. In Montenegro, for example, there is no, you might have segregation, but it ends up in the same place, okay? And, companies can do it locally. They can segregate wastes, but then if it ends up in the same place, it's good for the reporting, but then it's not good for the environment. So I think enforcement is critical, and this is also what we are trying to do with the Montenegrin Foreign Investment Council, is to try to identify the 3, 4, 5 key priority policy areas that the investors should advocate to reform as soon as possible, so that we can all progress towards ESG, also reporting, but ESG in terms of actual impact, because ultimately this is what we are after. So I would like to focus in the region more on practical impact, because I think this is what is most meaningful. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Realism. I promised to save room for questions and answers from the audience. And so I know that we had all planned to speak to innovation. Maybe there's a creative approach to tacking that on to some of the questions that come up, but we'd like to open up to all of you.
I was shaking my head just for 2 reasons. So on because I was not thinking about the private sector to take the steps, I was thinking about the public sector. Because, for example, waste management, you cannot do anything about it on the private sector level. I mean, you can segregate, but you need a landfill, you need recycling facilities, you need something where to place your waste. And for that, you have what is called the Western Balkans Investment Framework, which is available regionally, where you can get 70% EU grants. Now what we are trying to do desperately as IFIs is to help all governments in the region to access this money, which is available for Montenegro and all of the Western Balkan regions to advance and accelerate their trajectory. On the company level, you will soon see some products that we are partnering with local banks. We are working with NLB, we are working with other CKB and other banks to promote green financing for SMEs, where you will also have an investment grant component. So it will be basically investment grant and technical assistance and also financing.
I just want to add something regarding your question and a situation in our region, not even just in Montenegro, and innovation. I think that we didn't analyze problem well because we are lack of people, lack of knowledge, lack of expertise. Luckily or unfortunately, we are not lack of money. There is a money for these topics. But I think, for example, we are waiting for that software and for energy performance calculation more than 10 years, more 15 years almost. But maybe it was better to adopt Edge, for example, and use Edge. It's a great platform. It's not because you are near me. It's a really great tool. I really love it. It's cheaper. It's faster. Maybe we can use that. Maybe we can share some tools. We need templates, checklist. It's a trap because if you're like a small country like we in Montenegro, if you just follow regulation from European Union, it's too hard for us. We cannot, we are here, but European Union, I think this morning it's adopted some directive regarding, yes, this morning, and European Union is even higher. And for us, it's really not easy run. And I think we have to share knowledge, share expertise, and find some shortcuts, some packages, some list, checklists or something like that, and use innovation to skip that problem with the lack of knowledge in people.
I think that's a wonderful statement. And of course, I'm foreign to this region, but that was my observation too. And you're in a great place because Friday there will be a series of workshops where you can benefit from learning firsthand on how to do a lot of this. So please try to carve the time out to attend. Yeah, thank you, Biljana.
And so EDGE is a certification program that promoted by IFC that we're very proud of. But I think the point being that, yes, it would be great to have regulation, but we also need to be realistic. Right? And we can start the bottom up, as you're saying, so it goes two ways. And it starts with you, and and there is money. I think there is money, right? That's another point. I would definitely agree. There's tons of money. In fact, I think there's too much money, and it's not all direct. I'm serious. I think it's not all directed enough at green and sustainable products. They're just money. This region is flooded with money. So I think there's money. I think it takes the willingness for the companies to really decide that they're going to move in that direction. And the tools and the systems, they're all out there. I mean, you made that point earlier. There's too many and we don't know where to go. I think it requires somebody to sit down and go, okay, what do I follow? What do I mean by ESG? And what does it mean for me? And what's material for my company? And there are tools out there to help you with this. And of course, I'm going to promote all the ones IFC has. But I'll put a plug in. I'm sure there's tons of other ones out there, right? So, but we have a platform for financial institutions called FIRST, and it's for financial institutions for sustainable resources and tools. Tons of stuff. Just go and have a look. Any bright person can really get going. For reporting, we have Beyond the Balance Sheet platform. Again, fantastic. It lays out all these different acronyms, ESRS, CSRD, oh my goodness, alphabet soup. What does it mean for me? What do I pick? GRI, ISSB. You can go and any smart person who speaks English, afraid, can go and learn. So there are lots of tools. And another plug on yes, reaching the smaller companies. We have a tool for SMEs, sustainability for SMEs. Again, you know, these are accessible for all. And I really do encourage all of you to look at that sort of thing and get going. One of the things, I'll do my final plug, is we are really hoping to continue the work that IFC has been doing in the region for now 6-7 years, promoting ESG. I'm so glad we've got here, where we have a room full of people understanding that term, and I know lots of my partners and colleagues are in the room, and it's great to see how far you've gone in these years. We want to continue. We do get funded by donors. I'm going to do the plug for the Swiss government, who funded our program and is partly contributing to this program this week. And we do expect to get more support. And one thing we're thinking about, and I'd love to get feedback on this idea, is to put together a sustainability hub. Doesn't have to be just IFC. We'd love to do it with EBRD. We'd love to do it with others, bringing together all the players in this space. We're not the world's authority on ESG, and nor is the EU, and nor is ISSB. None of us are. We can all learn from each other. So putting together a sort of multi-donor, multi-stakeholder platform where we can share tools, share the experiences, talk about EDGE, talk about reporting formats and guidance. That's something that we're really hoping to do, and I do hope next year I'll be able to come back and talk more about that. Thank you.
I don't know if there's a great answer for that, given all that we are experiencing in the world today, or that we've learned to experience recently. But there are some great examples out of Japan. So again, there's a lot that's been done around the world, but Japanese tend to set 100-year strategies. And Toyota has a terrific set of resources online that can maybe inspire you for how to go about something just like that. Alenka.
Well, I will try to answer your question. I would definitely say that sustainability per se talks so much about future. Sustainability is future. This is why we are integrating ESG factors, because we would like to secure a safe future for our children, I guess, so that they will not need to deal with climate change and stuff like that, although climate change is already here. But what I would like to say is make sure that you understand what you are doing. I believe that understanding is never out of fashion, you know, and being science-based, let's say, create frameworks, create business models that are built on science, on good understanding of what are the consequences of these models. And if you are being transparent and ethical, and if you really do as much as you can so that the society is not corrupt, then you're on the best way to create a perfect future for yourself. So if everybody would follow, I guess, you know, just, you know, the basic rules of ethics in business, we would all be in a very safe place, I guess. So, yeah, this would be my 2 cents. I guess.
Are we getting the, okay, well, I would say all of you have shared such beautiful words of wisdom, and we anticipated that might happen, and I'm so glad that all of you have joined us. We can keep the conversation going tonight also. Yeah? I think everyone's welcome to you coming up and speaking with them. But thank you again for joining us, and we're so glad that you spent the afternoon with us, and we look forward to seeing you this afternoon. Thank you, panelists.